I've never, ever, ever wanted to scale and take over the world at a rate of super speed. I've always wanted to grow the community in a way that was slow and sustainable. And yes, that makes it harder quite a lot of the time, but it allows me to really listen to what's going on in the community and then shape the business to make sure everybody gets what they need.
Welcome to the Digital Community Leaders Podcast, where we chat with community experts, uncovering insights and leaving you with practical takeaways. Today, we're joined by Toni Finnemore, the founder of The Social Society. Toni's 25 years in community development inspired her to start The Social Society, a local volunteering platform that enables employees to match with hyper-local charities. I can't wait to chat to Toni about all things community. Let's get started. We are Steadfast Collective. We exist to craft digital applications that bring people together. A team of smart creatives, we are excited by technology, and we always aim to leave the internet in a better place than we found it. Working with many of the UK's leading communities, we use technology as an accelerator to help them grow and engage their members. Our applications resource membership organisations, grow businesses, and create value. We know what it takes to ship, market, and scale applications, and we apply this wealth of background knowledge to everything we do. We're not just another agency, we are community builders. Hey Toni, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am very well. Just before we started recording, I was sharing with you that we met very briefly at Web Summit, probably 3 years ago now.
Right. Yeah.
A little while ago. And Web Summit is a giant conference in Lisbon, where essentially this conference takes over Lisbon. It's kind of carnage. The week before Web Summit was there, Justin Bieber was there using event space. Yeah. So yeah, it was Justin Bieber, then it was Web Summit. And I think it's like 60, 70,000 odds attendees. Took like 2 hours to actually get into the main event. But it's kind of this big event in Lisbon where tech folk come together. And that was the first time I met you. And I've been following your story ever since.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, like I say, yeah, absolute carnage of an event. Good in places, but yeah, probably wouldn't go again.
Nice. So why don't you give us a bit of a background about kind of the Social Society, what you're up to, how it founded. Give us the start to where you're up to now.
Yeah, sure. So I guess top line for us as a community is, especially when you land on the website, we make volunteering easy. And how we do that is we bring in local people, employees within businesses, and we sort of say, look, what are the skills and what are your passion projects, your hobbies, what ignites the fire in your belly? Let's take those skills and let's match them, a bit like the Bumble, the Tinder, or the Hinge of charity matchmaking, I guess, but without the dull chat and the ghosting. We match those individuals and their skills to a charity that needs that exact set of skills. I founded it in 2018, so it's almost 7 years now. So it's been a long old roller coaster of a journey. And it was set up on the back of my sort of career, I guess, in community development and managing services both inside charities and outside charities for mental health, education, NHS provisions, learning disability services. The list kind of went on and on and on and on. And I absolutely loved it, working on the ground floor with teams in community, but governments would cut funds continuously, which is not news to anyone now. And they would say, look, you're doing a really great job of managing these services, but actually we need to take 500,000 away from you and we need you to do 50% more of the work. So whilst initially we could be really sort of innovative and creative and upskill people and drop people in other places, it was really, really difficult and on the ground level, ground floor and community. And it is always small charities that step up to sort of plug those gaps and offer the services that we all need. But they do it with sort of very little skills, additional time, resource funds. And so, yeah, Social Society was born out of that really, and saying, look, there has to be like a community, a hyper-local way of giving these amazing charities and groups the skills they need to do what they do best outside of the structures that don't necessarily support our communities as well as they should.
So is your day-to-day primarily working with charities who are looking for skills, organizations who are looking to place employees, or people kind of one-to-one direct who are maybe looking for a way they can make an impact?
Yeah, I'd say majority of it is businesses and organisations, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of the events side, which I failed to just mention, is one of the biggest things actually. It's one of the most exciting parts of our model, by bringing people together in events and smushing the volunteering together. So yeah, that is mainly corporates and individuals that come to me and say, look, we allocate 2 days a year
Mm-hmm.
for volunteering. No one really engages with it. How do we engage those people?
And it must be tough as well, because I would imagine for, let's take an example of a high street charity shop, which
Yeah.
is a little different to what you're doing in the event space, I'm aware. But it must be difficult for instance, if I walked in and said, look, can I volunteer for a day? That
Yeah.
has, by the time you've onboarded and offboarded, there's a minimal amount of input there. So I guess the hard thing for the charities is, how do we make most of these kind of sporadic days in a way which has a real impact, rather than just,
Yeah.
yeah, it must be tough.
It is, but I guess that's why our model exists the way it did. So the sort of
Mm,
the old school way of volunteering is very different now to the national picture of volunteering. So it used to be that charities would have the time, cash, and resource to be able to run sort of long-term volunteer programs and do
mm,
exactly that. Say, well, look, we have a volunteer coordinator, and we will take you through this process, and you can stay with us. They just can't do that anymore. Sort
mm,
of 98% of people, time is the biggest barrier. So individuals in businesses and locally don't have the time, and they don't know who or how or where to start, and charities no longer have the capacity to actually run those programs. So inside our sort of community model, it's very micro volunteering, it's ad
mm,
hoc. Can anyone just do an hour? Can anyone give me advice on this, or
mm.
design a logo? And so what we do is we kind of say to organizations, like, step out of the box, take the box, burn the box, create a new box.
Yeah.
Let's break those 2 days a year down into an hour here, an hour there at the desk. So it's easy, it's impactful, it's tangible.
And how are you organizing your community? Like, how are you organizing these group of people who are like, look, I'm here, I'm willing, I have skills, I'm competent. How are you like mobilizing them?
We do it through, well, we've got both online and in-person
Mm-hmm.
events. So we have an online platform where we just have almost like a live stream of both charities and individuals wanting to help, saying, can anyone help with this? Yes, we can. Can anyone help with this? Yes, we can.
Nice.
We sort of have that, like a volunteer asks and offer section, where we have a team of people behind the scenes making sure that those matches are individual to the charity and the person. And then we have our festival team days, which is one of the big
Yeah.
things, where we get anything from sort of 50 to 350 plus in a field, volunteering, on hay bells and birdsong and some Julie Andrews style magic. It's wonderful.
Yeah, they look so much fun. Like, whenever you post pictures of those events, I'm like, it looks like a circus has rocked up into town. Like, it looks like a real riot.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes people do say, can we have circus performers and fire eaters? And it really ranges. Like, each one of those events it's bespoke to the organization, really. And they are very fun. And every time I do them, especially in the summer period in the sun, I sit there and think, wow, this is my job.
Yeah.
It's great.
So you've got lots of various different stakeholders involved. You've got like folk who are volunteering their time. You've got the employees. You've got the folk who are looking for certain skills and whatnot. How do you tie them together with like a unified sense of values to make sure that everything feels good and aligned to how you want to be running things?
To be honest, sort of for us, like our values, what's really important to us is humans as individuals. So not
Mm,
this broad brush approach. And we've embedded that from the very, very, very day dot, I guess, and said, look, you know, and I often use Sally from Finance as an example and a bit of a comedy joke, but Sally from Finance is 78. She doesn't want to trek the Himalayas for a certain charity every year. Allow her to give her skills and her hobbies to a charity that she resonates with and she cares about and that is down the street. So
mm,
listening to individuals within organizations as humans individually is really important. Kindness as a currency, I guess, and the in-person meets, that eye contact, the sharing stories, the taking time away from the digital community
mm.
it ensures that we can, we sort of embed those values and we keep things strong.
Do you have like a core set of advocates or kind of like folk who have been around for a while, which help you embed those kind of core values into when you're at those events and whatnot?
Yeah, so we have city leads now, and I
Okay.
guess we've always had champions. I guess people call them different things, but we've had people that have been with us from day dot that genuinely believe in the model, and they tend to be the wonderful humans that go against the grain and are like, actually, this, the advocates of community, I guess, and sort of say these things don't work anymore, therefore we need to put a
Mm.
stake in the ground and step outside of the box and do better for our communities. And they've been with us for since we launched, I would say.
And do they, as so with that kind of those city leads, how do you champion them and give them opportunities to shine? Like, are they rewarded with different things? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so we have, it's a bit of, some of them are paid, so there's a bit of an affiliate scheme there where they get paid. They also come and work at our events. There's the standard stuff like the training. They're just an amazing part of the core team.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, they've been with us for a very long time.
That's great. And I imagine they've got a great relationship with yourself, which in itself would be a perk to be able to feel like they're being part of something and have a real impact. Often folk who are in those kind of advocate programs, kind of, your most engaged members per se, what they really want is just to be a part of something and be listened. I feel like they're having more of an impact, and it feels like
Yeah,
that's what you've got lined up.
definitely. And I think you can be too prescriptive sometimes with some of these. This is the role and this is what you do. It's like one of the biggest things that I find, whether it's recruiting, whether it's volunteering, it's just like, what do you want to get out of this?
Mm.
Look, what do you want to develop? Like, it's not about me. It's the community is very much about everyone else, right? So what do you want to get? And we start with that and then it grows. So every one of our city leads is there for a different reason. And they all do things very differently, but in their own unique way.
In terms of, so the way I've been following along with your story is through your LinkedIn. So how have you found the use of photography and video and, articles and maybe even press? How has that helped you kind of grow your cause, grow the community?
Yeah, sure. I think press in the early days was really good. We've had some good press when we launched because it's a very different model. It's not a standard Skillshare plug and play platform that people plug in. It is very different, especially with the events and the festival team days. So that's been really great. I think there's a sort of a love and hate relationship with social media, if I'm honest.
Mm.
But it has been, LinkedIn in particular has been very valuable. And the content that I post is very me. And I think
Mm.
that's kept me sane. Being just me talking like I do now in a very human approach rather than we're thrilled to announce,
Yeah.
and sharing openly the struggles of not just the impact and volunteering, but growing a business and a community is hard, right? It's not an easy, it's a bit of a roller coaster. And so it's been great.
It's also very colourful, your posts. I don't know if that's a style. There's often a lot of colour in your imagery and whatnot that you share, which
Yeah,
stands out.
thank you. Our brand is quite a colourful one, which I like. And I started originally, people would say, "Oh my God, who did your brand?" It's like, your colours are great. And I was like, they're just my favourite colours. Which is like,
I just have great style.
like that's my branding. But it does show personality. And I think you have to, right? Like I'm a colourful human. I walk around, my wardrobe looks like I've coughed up a rainbow most of the time. And I think that resonates, the human to human again. It resonates with people, because it's not all shiny and yeah.
And it's fun as well, though, right? Like, I guess a lot of what you want to show is that what you're trying to create is some joy and some fun, and it doesn't have to be a drag. And I think a lot of that shows through the imagery you use. Do you have like a few photographers that you are like, please, like, come to this event, like, I want to get some great snaps, sort of thing? That must be quite high on the priority list of getting almost like the social proof of the good stuff that's going on?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have a few more videographers as well at the next one. We're going to be doing a one day, possibly 2 day event for everyone. So rather than just having them for the businesses, we're going to do that soon. And yeah, video and imagery is really important, just to convey as well what we're actually doing. So people could dive into that a little bit more. And like I say, it shows personality, I guess.
And that, I'm guessing that's really helped as well when you've gone to spread wider than your kind of hyper local community, because it's much easier to show somebody a video and be like, look, this is the sort of thing we do, it's much easier than being like, here's a brochure. It must make it easier to convey that emotion that you're trying to show too.
Yeah, definitely. And then it sparks action and it piques interest and people go, oh, that's really interesting. Like a mini Glastonbury, but with volunteering, like that's fun. And I think when we jump on that call or we talk, we see the imagery, etc., you can dig a little bit deeper and then they find out that actually we pay the charities to come and ask for help. People are like, what blows people's mind? Like there's a whole heap of depth to it. So it starts with the color and the imagery and the videography. And then when we get into the bespoke curation of their day, that's when the fun begins, really.
How do you measure success? Like, how do you measure the success of what a year looks like for you, but then also what an event looks like?
Yeah. So I used to be rubbish at this, like really rubbish. And I think it's another human thing. We just do, right? We need to get to an end goal. Do. And then we just fail to look back and go, oh, actually, we've achieved A, B, and C. I'm a bit more strategic with it now. So we break things down into like quarters. Like what are our I don't like the word targets, but what do we want to achieve? Like how many people do we want to support? What sort of impact do we make? And inside the community, for us, one of our key pieces is that actually we do bring people together in person as well as online. Is really valuable. Some of the most incredible testimonials and relationships and collaborations have been built from having these events. So the in-person, just happiness and making sure that people that need the help get exactly what it is they need in a really easy and meaningful and quick and efficient, I guess, way. So we have top line. And then lots of variety of different measurement tools, I guess, underneath for the year and for impact. The sort of long-term goal is to sort of change the way we give back to communities, and charities and core groups don't necessarily have that support anymore. So we want to be able to do that and do it well.
And do you I'm aware you're the founder and whatnot, but do you report to anybody? Like, do you have like an advisory board or anything like that?
Yeah, we do. We've got an advisory board, and we've just got a non-exec director as well on board now, who's helping us with a new pilot program called 1,000 for Change for 1,000 students across London and the South East to take them through our sort of volunteering events program for employability, for upskilling. So we have got a group of people, which is good.
That's really fun. I find that, so we're 10 years into running Steadfast. My wife and we're the co-founders, and we own the majority of the business. Our employees own a chunk too, but we still have a management team which we report to, which is made up of ourselves, a couple of employees, non-exec, and a finance director. And having accountability, even as the co-founder, to somebody else is really helpful, because you know that you're going to need to go into that. Like it was the call I had before this call was our finance call. I've still got to, explain, why that target was hit or why that target wasn't hit. And it's really helpful having that accountability, even if you are quote unquote top of the tree. And if you surround yourself with the right people, there's so much wisdom as well. And people are often so willing to give it. You just need to ask and be, generous back and be accommodating of their time and whatnot. And it's amazing what people are willing to do in terms of non-exec roles and whatnot.
Definitely. And I think, we've got an amazing group of people, and it's just, sometimes getting out of your head because you're constantly doing what you do, right? And having those opinions, like you say, well, have you thought about doing like this? And actually that doesn't sound like the best way. How about you try it like this? So it's really, really valuable. I also think with the organisation, I chose not to take investment. When I first started, everyone was very much like tech, scale the world, build a platform and just go. And I was like, I think having that in-person events, human connection thing is really important for community. And, people poo-pooed it and they're like, oh, no, that's not the case. And it's really interesting how by building slowly and sustainably and listening to the needs of actual communities and people, that sort of 7 years down the line, people are saying, oh, actually, we think that's really important that we get together both in online and in person. And so that in itself has also been an interesting journey for me.
It feels like, from an outsider's point of view, tech would be more useful for you behind the scenes to automate some tasks that you're doing on a regular basis and just kind of smooth the process, but it doesn't need to be in everyone's face. It feels, there's a great book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, and he talks about how tech is an accelerator. It's not the answer. And actually often just having a great CRM system or a great way of I don't know, emailing people actually is enough of a use of technology rather than being like, we're a tech business, we only do Silicon Valley stuff.
100%.
Yeah. But tech is great for when you want to look at scaling and you want to replicate yourself. But again, it can still be so much behind the scenes stuff. And I think as community managers, often community managers get hung up on, are we going to use Circle or this platform or that platform? And actually, when you ask the right questions, what they really need is just a way of linking a CRM system and an email tool and maybe something else. Like it's just some connections, rather than like one platform that does everything and is going to solve all their problems, because it won't. It never does.
It never does. You're absolutely right. And I think we tried that originally. We were like, right, platform this. And we tried and tested and failed in a million different areas. And it was mainly because of the way the community was structured and what the need was. And it just wasn't what we thought it was. So you need to try, test and fail. But yeah, really understanding the needs of your community and the end goal is more important. Yeah.
In terms of kind of what you've got coming up at the Social Society, what's on the roadmap? You mentioned you've got a new pilot coming up. That's really exciting. Is there anything else kind of bubbling up in the works?
Yeah, we've got a few partnerships behind the scenes. I can't quite talk about yet, which is quite exciting. Ooh. We've got the I know, right? Woohoo! So keep your eyes peeled. We've obviously got our summer. So we're now end of April, May. I don't know how that's happened. We have our summer festival team days. So right now we're kind of diving into curating, I guess, a set of bespoke events. We try to do between 8 and 10 every summer. So that's what we're working on at the moment. And then come September, yes, we have 1,000 for Change, which is our student pilot. And that looks like us taking through 1,000 students from universities and colleges in London and Sussex through our volunteer programme, just to support them with giving back, with their impact, with employability, with a whole heap of different things. And that's proven to be really exciting, actually. There's lots of interest from potential partners, sponsors, individual students. So yeah, really excited working on that as well.
That's really exciting. How did you decide now was the right time for that pilot? Because I know that in community world, there's so many things that you can do. You can trial different initiatives or different, programs. And actually, sometimes it can be hard to keep focused. Like, why did you decide now is the right time?
Do you know what? I wish I had this really clear, sort of answer. But the reality is, people have been, from universities and colleges and students in particular, have been asking me to support for such a long time. I'd say way over 18 months now. There's the gap that exists in employees with employee volunteering is exactly the same in the student space, more so if anything. There's a real need for them. And we just haven't really focused our energies and our time there, mainly because of funds as well. Like we've needed to be able to fund certain pilots to make this a reality. And universities and colleges don't necessarily have that. So we're having a sponsored pilot to ensure that I can just listen to what's happening and what has been. It seems to be progressively getting louder. Like we need these opportunities. We'd really love you to support them. And I just made a call, made the decision. And since, I've started opening those doors, we've had lots of positive responses from both sponsors, partners, and from universities and colleges. So I'm going to go with it.
That's really exciting. In Southampton, we have got 2 universities, and one of the universities runs a thing called Solent Creatives. And essentially their creative programs, you can join it into like a job pool. And then as a business, I can reach out and be like, look, I need a logo designing. Does one of your students want to do it? And then it kind of goes out and they pitch for it. And then you pay them, but it's obviously a reduced rate and it's great for them. And we've used a couple of their photographers for events we've done. And they get paid for a student fairly well. We get someone who's great. They get, and also students get incredible access to incredible cameras and stuff. So that was great. And they then just get to build out their portfolio. It feels like a win-win-win. And actually, when we are hiring, actually seeing something like experience in, even if they've just finished uni, seeing something like experience working in a Costa or something, especially hospitality. If you've worked somewhere, it's already a plus because I know you know how to turn up, talk to other people. You just have some more life skills. It's a little bit like traveling. I always find if someone's traveled, they just have a little bit more life skills than 100%. Someone who's never been on an aeroplane because they know like how to deal with adversity. And it feels like your pilot would really help with that sort of stuff. Just go get some life skills, like turn up to work. Like,
right, 100%. And also, it goes back to that. I know I go on about it like an actual broken record, but that human to human piece, like, they are all so different. And I think there is a risk with some of this. You can overcomplicate these processes and these systems. It's just let these individuals choose themselves. What skills do they want to develop? Who do they want to support? How do they want to do it? Let's just make that a reality. Let's make it quick and easy and meaningful and efficient and safe, of course.
yeah.
And let them choose, let them get on and do it. And so that's the plan. And I love pilots because it's a blank canvas, right? And will shape it and we'll tweak it based on the needs of the students and everyone else involved. And it will be student led as well. As much as I love to think that I'm young and hip to the, I'm absolutely not. So we're going to be letting students sort of take the reins and shape it themselves. So yeah, that's exciting in itself.
And similar to your kind of Sally in accounts like comment earlier, it would almost be a
Yeah.
waste if she wasn't using her skills,
Yeah,
because
it is.
finance people are really expensive. And if you were like, actually, could you just price up these like used books? Like, well, that's
Yeah.
that's a waste of everyone's skills, right? We might as well. So if you've got a great student who's an incredible videographer, let's not
Yeah.
ask them to sign people in at a door. Let's, give them a way of using their real skill set. And it's a win-win-win. It's a really good lesson for other community managers. Actually, there might be skills in your community you're not leveraging because you're presuming people don't want to help, but maybe you just need to ask, and actually people are willing to put their hand up and be like, I know how to do this thing. Let me.
100%. And I think that's quite often what people don't do. And especially with larger corporates, not all of them. I don't want to tar everyone with the same brush, but I still get emails. I would say on every other week at least, saying, can we take our team to go and paint a shed or dig an allotment? And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, let's focus on your individual team members as team members and give them the opportunity to do something. And the charities are desperately calling out for these skills. They're like, we have this small group of people, we have no time, funds, capacity, or resource. We desperately need someone to help with X, Y, and Z. And it is the very best way to sort of where everybody gets what they need. And ultimately, end goal, those charities that are providing services for us that we all access, mental health, crisis intervention, education, schooling, NHS, they can do what they do best and in turn help us and build sort of, it sounds cliche, but stronger, more resilient communities outside of the structures that don't necessarily support us anymore. So it's much bigger, it's much wider than just volunteering. And yeah, if we can get students that are excited and passionate and in need of, upskilling in certain areas, we'll happily support them.
Before we go on to our final question, I want to ask you about the pandemic.
Yes.
So for you, was that tricky or was that a real accelerant for you?
It was not an accelerant, actually, which is funny considering that volunteering took a woohoo. And again, going back to that tech piece, I know lots of organisations that operate as those skill sharing platforms that did act as an accelerant, and they just took off. But I made a choice to do the opposite. I chose to set up a crowdfund for the food banks locally. I made a choice to help local authority put crisis intervention plans in place for the vulnerable in the city. I chose to set up a campaign called Letters with Love, where we had school children and people from all over the UK just write letters, random doorstop letters to people that couldn't access social media, but that needed someone to say, do you know what, it's going to be okay. And we got hundreds of thousands of letters dropped through the door that we would just then randomly. So I guess I chose to go back to the hyper-local grassroots, what's going on in my community and others, and support there. So yeah, it was an interesting one, but I'm glad I chose to do it that way, to be honest.
It sounds like you really leaned on your skills and your experience during that time of the biggest impact that you personally could make.
Yeah, definitely. And it worked well. And also, again, I think going back to, I've never, ever, ever wanted to scale and take over the world at a rate of super speed. I've always wanted to grow the community in a way that was slow and sustainable. And yes, that makes it harder quite a lot of the time, especially financially, but it allows me to really listen to what's going on in the community and then shape the business to make sure everybody gets what they need. And so I'm happy with that.
I think that's the underlying story of community as a whole, though, right? Like in terms of brands with like chief marketing officers who are looking at using community as part of their strategy, it's not a campaign that you can just switch on, throw a bunch of money at, Mark Zuckerberg and get a bunch of new conversions. It's not that. It's a long-term play which builds sustainability. And I think for me, I remember being asked by a non-exec like 3 years ago, like, why are we doing this thing? And I said, I just don't think the way the internet currently works in terms of throwing money at billionaires so we can make a little bit more money is sustainable. At some time, that bubble will pop. And it will be the brands who have built up trust through their social platforms or through their newsletters or just through knowing people who actually will still be there when the inevitable happen, when your Google changes their algorithm or when Meta decide they no longer want you on their platform. You still have a thing you can rely on, which isn't just let's make another billionaire a little bit richer because we don't know how else to grow our business.
100%. And listening to community and building those relationships over that period of time in a way that is kind and trustworthy is everything. And we are moving way more towards that, I think, now. AI is taking over the world, and it's very good in many ways. That's a story for another podcast and a discussion for another podcast. But we were built for community as humans, for sharing stories, for connection, for all of that jazz. And it's an exciting time, I think.
I couldn't agree more. What's one piece of advice you would give to somebody else who's building out their community?
One piece. Oh, it's difficult to just give one piece of advice when it comes to community building. I'm going to say just being consistent. And maybe that's a bit cliche and a bit, but actually showing up for them and for yourself and continuously. And I think that to add to that, if you have that belief in the end goal and you can see that it works, just keep going, be consistent, show up for your community and yourself, and you will absolutely get there. And it's not always easy, but consistency is really, really important.
I've never had that answer. Consistency is a great one. And it builds, consistency doesn't just build, reliability. It builds trust and security so people can be more open, that you're not just going to vanish, so they can actually invest their time because they see this as a long-term thing, not just something which is a get-rich scheme sort of thing. It's a long-term, which is fun.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you so much for chatting with me. It would be good. So what's the best way for people to kind of follow along with what you're doing or get involved?
Sure. I'm going to say throw it at LinkedIn. We've obviously got a website, but we are on LinkedIn quite a lot, talking about what we do. And or if you want to head over to the website, so www.socialsociety.org.uk, you can sign up to our newsletter there as well.
Thank you so much for chatting with me today. It's been a delight, and I look forward to seeing all of the pictures of the glorious summer events. Thank you. Chat soon. This is the Digital Community Leaders Survey 2023. And this is the Digital Community Leaders Survey 2023 second edition. Back in 2023, we released a beautiful printed book. And due to its popularity, we sold out of printed copies. Rather than reprinting, we listened to your feedback and we included 40% more content in this copy. We created the report to be a data-backed handbook for building the foundations of your brand's community. For instance, did you know that 70% of communities we surveyed saw growth over the last 12 months? And we know those businesses are growing too. Other metrics we dive into include community growth, biggest pain points, community purpose, what are other community managers measuring, funding, participation, C-suite involvement, and much, much, much more. In this book, we present the data and expert insights from Richard Gott, Michelle Goodall, Vincent Boone, Keen Bakatari, Rosie Sherry, Matt Sullivan, Laura Roth, Nicole Saunders, Blaise Grimes-Vaught, and Jan Carlisle. We've also included frameworks such as the community archetypes, ecosystem of impact, community participation ladder, and the community first culture nexus. There's so much in here, I can't wait for you to get your hands on this new edition. You can order your printed copy from Amazon today, or download a digital copy for free at digitalcommunityleaders.com.